And as the confetti falls here, well, we don't have any confetti, but it's on the TV.
No, that was just me sneezing and spilling my rice flakes.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, my cornflakes, not rice flakes.
My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's a good thing we don't have anything to talk about, isn't there?
Holy fucker of a shit. What a day.
I was sitting here today going through this idea going, oh, this is going to be quite a day. We've got to talk about the grand final. Wow, won't this be interesting? And then as I pull into the driveway this afternoon, my phone melted basically. Twitter went nuts. Everything went nuts. Yep. We're going to start talking about the judges.
Because so long, farewell, la vida, saying goodbye.
The pay is wrong, and so the three must fly. Ding 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 ding. So,
after their struggles in the Fair Work Commission, a fair day's work for a fair day's pay.
The three judges learned that what lesson the Georges sort of found out the last week is that people don't necessarily feel like they're being paid a fair wage.
No.
For their work. And as someone pointed out, though, unlike, these three, George's employees couldn't just quit because they couldn't afford to.
No.
The three Masterchef judges, it was announced today, will not return to the show. Now...
The official line?
And look, I think we've got differing views on what it actually is, but the official line was that they just couldn't come to terms on a new contract. This is the last year of their 3-year deal. Mm-hmm. And you could sort of see for the last couple of years, we've talked about this before, that they really looked like they weren't happy to sign it.
Yeah. Clear signs of burnout.
Industry scuttlebutt there was lots of burnout going on.
Yep.
But they got paid quite well.
We used the term scuttlebutt.
I know.
Love it.
Insiders and fellow diners. But what was sort of reported this afternoon was that they had asked for $2 million a year, which was a 100% pay rise. Channel 10 had countered with either a 40% pay rise, or someone had also suggested it was actually a $1.5 million for 2 years. That's not for 2 years, that's per year.
So $3 million over 2 years. $3 million over 2
years, yeah. So
wow.
They'd asked for $2 million a year. And Channel 10 went, you're going to be kidding me. Especially after the week that George had, probably not getting that pay. Now, don't think for a second we're going, they started negotiations this week. No. This has been a really... Everyone in the industry's been talking, in the TV industry's been talking about, they're negotiating out their deals, but, they're trying to work it all out. I kind of suspect they were planning to announce the deals today.
Yep.
And then my view is that all the shit happened last week with George, and Channel 10 kind of went, you really think we're going to give you a pay rise?
Yeah.
Off the back of all of this. And also the ratings we've talked about haven't been staggering, although... I'll guarantee you tonight's episode rates through the roof.
Absolutely. I think just with the union workers at the very least.
And I know the unions have been out in force today.
Yes. So as they should be, capitalise on this. Young people and people in the hospitality industry deserve a fair go. I think what I want to say too is looking at the context is that, you're on a flagging show. It's an 11-year-old show. Format's a little bit worn. It's quite clear that there is not a friendly audience anymore. The kindness and the grace that's been given to the judges over the past 4 to 5 years has petered out,
I think in the last few days, the audience, and I talked about this, if you go back and listen to the episode where I talked to Steve Malk about ratings and talked about dumping judges, and he said, well, they're kind of the show, and the audience, as much as they've been painful, would kind of probably rebel. We're about to find out. Yep. But I actually think that because of all the George stuff in the last week, I think the audience has sort of softened on that view. All you have to do is look at all forms of social media, and what you'll find is that pretty much everybody, you weren't finding anyone going, oh, come on, give them a break.
No.
Everyone turned against them and went, no, this is bullshit. And then...
Because the majority of MasterChef audiences are working class Australians who we have all had a shit boss. We have all been ripped off in our workplace. This is not something that we just kind of but we've never had a voice. You know what I mean? Like,
So
9 times out of 10, you don't have the resources to go and take these people to court. So
I think that everyone turned hard in the last week or so,
particularly when you've got Matt coming out,
and that was what I was about to say. They trotted Matt out to defend him, and again, I understand why Preston probably defended him, but I think that just sort of made the audience go, you know what? If you do replace him, it's probably not the worst thing in the world. There's already Twitter rumours that they've been poached by another network.
Yep.
So look out for that probably the next couple of days. I'll be interested to see what happens there. They probably will get a massive payday from someone. So, and let's...
I mean, can I put forward my conjecture? Unless are you...
No, go for it.
Okay. So my conjecture as well is that, yes, there's been pay negotiations and stuff going on, but if Matt, George and Gary really don't want to be on MasterChef, if they want to weigh out, pay negotiations is the perfect way to do it.
And I kind of feel like, if we ask for $2 million, there's no chance in hell they give it to us.
My basis, more cynical side is going, Channel 10 have gone, holy shit, we have to do some damage control. Okay, guys, we need to turf off George. And Matt and Gary have just doubled down and went, nah, we're not leaving our mate, we're going too.
No, because I think that would have come out more in terms of Columbaris dumped and the other two go with him. There's not even been a remote hint of that. I think that Gary and Matt would have straight up gone, no, they turfed him and we're out in solidarity, to make it a big solidarity statement.
Right, okay.
I agree more with the idea of they just went, well, we're kind of looking for a way out. Do we want to just use this? Why don't we ask for more money than we know Channel 10 will give us?
Yeah.
And then when they don't meet our price, we'll go. And then also on the open market, they're worth more because they can sort of go, well, we've made this offer to 10, get close.
Yeah.
Beat what they did.
I mean, for me, I feel sorry mostly for Matt and Gary. Matt has been a little bit problematic in the past. I've heard that there's been some racist issues, but I'm not sure what they are, so I need to investigate that.
I haven't heard any of that.
Yeah, same. But I feel sorry for those two because for me, those guys have basically been the heart and soul of the show for the past, 10 years. Columbaris, until this bullshit with, him finding out he underpaid workers, I didn't really connect with him. I think that's the nicest way I can put it. I do appreciate their legacy. MasterChef has changed culture in Australia. It has raised awareness about food in Australia. And I feel that, it was a wave at that time. You had people like Jamie Oliver, MasterChef kicking off, and this kind of wave of food education entertainment kind of coming in, Nigella Lawson. And this has been going on for years. I mean, let's not forget Peter Russell Clark. But this is really where it came to its height in Australia.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting. I think what I want to sort of go with now, just because again we're probably going to talk more. We're going to talk more about where the show goes after this.
Yeah,
and we're going to have some time to talk more about the judges. But I want to look at positive memories.
Yep,
because I want to have a quick talk about positives with the judges. Now, when Gary's at his best,
yes,
is when he's mentoring.
Absolutely. In the kitchen, in the whites.
And there is a bit of a change with Gary when he's in the whites.
Absolutely.
When Gary's not in his whites, that's when you get more problems. When Gary's in his whites, I think he's in his element, and that's when he's good.
When I see Gary in his whites, I think back to Good Chef, Bad Chef. You remember when he was butter and everything?
Exactly, butter and everything.
Oh, look at you making that nice healthy salad. How about if I just drizzle some butter on that?
Preston's the one I have the most positive thoughts about.
Yeah. The way he interacts with people. Like every time there was an outdoor challenge.
He's great.
Yeah.
Matt Preston's interactions with people are really good. I've got a lot of time for Matt Preston and his interactions.
Yeah.
And George can cook.
Yeah.
Look, that's as much as I can say about George, to be honest with you.
He's a good cook.
He's a really good cook. His food is quite good.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably the most positive I can be. But I think overall, Gary in the kitchen working with them as a mentor is really good because he's good at describing and instructing and explaining what he's doing.
And he is so skillful. Like his knowledge of all of the different skill sets and the sauces and, shit I could never think of because I'm lost for words. But he's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah. And as I said, Matt's way with words is amazing. I mean, look, what I've come to appreciate more than anything else, to be honest with you, is Matt's moustache and beard combo. Go back and watch Matt without the moustache and beard. It is creepy. It is weird. They went back and showed one of my favourite bad MasterChef Australia clips. I think it was from season 1 today on the project, where they did the one where Matt had the dish and threw it over his shoulder and it smashed on the ground, and he goes, "That was disgusting." And they pause, and then he smiles and goes, "Disgustingly delicious." And I'm so pleased that Matt Preston fucked the hell off. Yeah. I'd like to think it's a bit like a Paul McCartney, Paul is dead moment, that Matt Preston actually died in a car crash and was replaced by a Matt Preston lookalike and had to grow the facial hair as he got a bit older. And so, but it helped the personality. When you go back and rewatch the Elena Grand Final, Matt Preston is terrifying in that. Really scary.
The thing is, we didn't know him. We didn't know that there was an actual better version of Matt Preston at stage. We still thought he was delightful.
That's the problem. Like we didn't realise until fairly recently, like again the last couple of years, that there could be a better Matt, and thankfully we found it. So that's
not
amazing.
Just one making us drinks for the big game.
So let's get on to the grand final.
Yes.
Which is the big game.
It's the reason for the season.
It's the reason for the season. It's what I'm referring to as their last waltz.
It's
anyone who's seen the last waltz, I mean, there's not going to be much country music or anything like that, or folk music. Neil Young's not performing, but it is indeed their last waltz.
Yes, and I like to think of tonight as cook a crayfish for a dish.
Oh, fuck. So...
Everyone's going, what's with these marrons and marrowbone?
There was more marron this week in this grand final than there was in Western Australia week.
And I just have to say, look, it's a nice change up from fish in butter sauce.
It was marron in butter sauce. There was marron in butter sauce.
Really like it,
but it was vanilla butter sauce.
Yeah.
So in other words, ice cream. Think about it. If you took the vanilla butter sauce and put it in the churner and then froze it, it's ice cream.
Nah, that's just frozen vanilla butter. Ugh.
You're getting close. So pour some
it's a milk product.
Pour some sugar in there, you're fine. Okay, so the grand final. So Simon, Tessa and Larissa, 3-course service challenge, free choice of menu, 60 guests, many past MasterChef luminaries.
Lots of
not the current contestants who all had to stand on the gantry
and the families
and watch a room of people eat.
Yes, so
the families and the contestants got to watch a room of people eat food.
Yay! They've watched all the fucking prep. It's not all the cooking smells. You know when I don't know if you had
it's the last punishment of Ben.
It's that I imagine it's that feeling like when you've been out on Sunday, like doing like I don't know shit you do as like I'm thinking like 11 and 12 years old, when you're going to go through a growth spurt and like any potential for food is like fucking amazing. But you've been out all day and you've been really active all day and like you've had breakfast, you've had lunch, but lunch was like at least 3 hours ago. Yeah. And you get home and the fucking baked lamb is in the oven and it is smelling cooked. But you know what? It is nowhere near fucking cooked. And for the next hour and a half, which feels like 60 days, this lamb is cooking. And when it finally hits the plate, that feeling like just rejoicing, and they don't get that outlet.
I like the idea that they all had to like jump on the back of the Vespa and go through McDonald's drive-through afterwards.
Menu look.
Well, I keep suggesting that the Vespa should be used in the off-season for menu log from the MasterChef kitchen.
Well, my one hope is that I saw a lot of Nespresso being served at the end, so I'm hoping that was being trotted upstairs too throughout.
I hope they got some coffee at least.
Yeah.
I hope they got some of the sponsors' product, because
some of the wine.
God, the sponsorship was everywhere. We'll come to that in a moment, because the Sashi one in particular was spectacularly good. All right.
So subtle.
Subtle. It was as subtle as a brick to the face.
Alrighty.
Speaking of subtle as a brick to the face, Shannon Bennett's back. And
wage thief.
So we know.
Sorry, I'm just like in Twitter mode.
Stop being in Twitter mode.
Okay.
So look, the difference being Shannon has already had his tribunal thing, been forced to repay all his stuff. Did the restaurant closure, which is George has done, to reopen for something else, which is a brand new business venture.
It's like, look, we're paying our staff now.
I'm kind of suggesting that the same thing will happen to Colin Barras as what I believe's happened to Shannon Bennett, which is the ATO is now his partner for life. They will be looking at all the books for life.
Yeah, Fair Work, yeah.
So Fair Work and ATO together will be looking at all the books. I'm going to say something I never thought I'd say. I was actually very happy to see Shannon Bennett. And I think they made the right call in getting, and I can hear people right now go, what do you mean you hate Shannon Bennett? Look, the Masterchef, okay, so the Masterchef bubble.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before on many episodes. We're going to talk about it again tonight. The Masterchef bubble is a real thing. So the Masterchef bubble is where, for example, Tessa can't stop cooking fish in butter sauce because you're in this environment, and while it's supposed to be really engaging, all you do is get in this mind space of what you cook, and that's what you do. Yeah. And like Larissa was making panna cottas every 3.5 seconds, and it was the same purpose.
Yeah.
Shannon Bennett has been in that headspace as the mentor for the last few years, and that's one of the reasons why he's sort of got a little bit stale in that role.
Yeah.
Bringing him back for one episode
was brilliant.
Because he was out of that mind space. He's been in the actual food service industry again. Mm-hmm. And what he gave them in terms of advice was stuff they should have been fucking well hearing for weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it ended up in some ways hurting Tessa a little bit because he told Tessa about the idea that you really should work to be inventive and creative, and that is the last thing the judges wanted them to be.
Well, no. I feel that the culture leading up to tonight has been, play safe. However, even when that culture existed, Larissa still found time, and this is what I'm finding clever. If you look back, yeah, she was making panna cottas and parfaits, but you know what she was playing with in that time? Flavour. And you know what we didn't see on her dessert plate tonight, or any of her plates? A panna cotta, a parfait, or an ice cream. We saw a sorbet, yes, but we didn't see...
That was the most... You said it, you're like, we didn't see any of them. We saw a sorbet, and there was a moment that crossed your memory like, it's really close to an ice cream.
It really is close, but her experimentation with flavours paid off tonight.
It paid off tonight, but Tessa talked about it, and we'll get into it in a bit more detail shortly, but Tessa talked a lot about the fact that the judges have sort of talked about her being safe and steady, and they want her to do what she does and just use those flavours. And she said, I've been consistent and I've been steady, and that's the best way to go about this is be consistent and steady because that's what's got me here. And she actually used the phrase, that's what's got me here. And remember, from the semi-final, the words ringing in her ears were, don't try anything too far out of the box.
Absolutely.
Just keep it straight.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of messed with her a little bit, but I think that Shannon was 100% right in what he said. But we'll come to that in a moment. So they get 4.5 hours to do this.
Yeah.
So we get on to maybe entrees, maybe mains. Depends on which bench you were looking at and who the fuck knows. So Tessa decides she's doing Marin for entree. Larissa announces, by the way, I'm doing Marin for main course, and I'm doing, I'm going to do...
one Marin tail.
I'm going to do one Marin tail per person. And then I'm sitting there, before they said anything, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, but hang on a minute, Tessa's doing one, that's an entree. And Shannon Bennett comes over and looks and goes...
How many of those are you doing?
You're basically making Tessa's entree, but you're doing it as a main. That doesn't really work. And so there was this big discussion about one or two, and she goes, I'll just do 2 of them.
Yeah.
That came back to haunt a little bit. But on the entree, by the way, Larissa was making roasted bone marrow. Remember that, because that becomes important in a minute. Also, Simon exists.
Yeah.
Now, I felt so bad for Simon. Look, I never thought I would get to the last episode of Masterchef and really like Simon, but tonight, by God, I like Simon.
And you know what I think is even better? Is I hear he's got to deal with Shroot Farms part of this.
So many beets. So...
he just needs the Bears and Battlestar Galactica, and we have the trifecta.
So it was Beets with beet tops. Well, that was what he originally called it. He changed the name of the dish, thankfully.
He should have called it Beets by Simon.
Beets by Simon. If it wasn't for the fact he was a distant third, that's the name of the episode. But he's a distant third, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But Beets by Simon. Simon, if you want to come onto the podcast, we're happy to have you because I've got a really good name for your episode. So we get into it, and Larissa decided to double the amount. But then they went to Tessa and they were talking about the food dream, and they had, God, did they try the montages of desperation all night. So we started with. Larissa had a couple of them. Tessa had a couple of them.
Yeah.
And they cut to Tessa, who says that her food dream was to have my own place. Now that's vague because it doesn't really suggest if it was a food place or a house or like just a place in the world.
And I just have to say, as
is
a
it theoretical
millennial, or maybe is she a millennial, or is she now the younger generation, which I have the I generation?
Millennial.
She's a millennial. Hun, I just think you just need to dream a little smaller there. Maybe your own granny flat at the back of mum and dad's.
Now.
Too much smashed avocado and marron, to be honest.
So this is where Shannon then said, "It's if you're going to make it safe, and there's no problem with safe, but it's got to be perfect."
Yeah.
Which he was right on that front. And poor Tessa's like, "I haven't been told that for the whole series. What the fuck do you mean?"
Yeah.
Simon instead wanted you to step outside the box and think differently. In fact, what Simon said, and I quote him directly here, he wanted you to question everything. Now, if I walked into a vegan smokehouse,
is that my girlfriend?
We're gonna talk that. Now, if I walked into a vegan smokehouse, I'd question everything. Everything. And I've been to a good vegan restaurant. You know this. We've been there.
Okay.
But if I walked into a vegan smokehouse,
and you didn't smell smoke, no.
No, I'd be questioned because the smoke would be there. So, God, the smoke will be there. I'd question everything. My first question would be, where's the bit of beef that you threw out? My second bit is, where's the pork you slightly overcooked? All of these questions are the questions you need to ask when you enter Simon's vegan smokehouse. As we said the other night on the podcast, it's not actually a vegan smokehouse. It doesn't start that way. You pick your meal, you pick your protein, he throws the protein out, you get the cabbage.
Yeah. I feel that tonight it really showed that if Simon commits to his passion in working with vegetables, like we looked at his dessert, right? And the way he cooks then, and everyone, including us, were going, where the fuck has this Simon been for the past 12 weeks?
It's the first time it made sense.
It did.
All of Simon's food, and it's the night the judges hated it.
Yeah.
It's the first time all series that I think Simon's vegan food, or vegetarian food at the least, made perfect sense.
And I'm like, this should have been something that he was driving, whether vocally or subtly. I mean, I think it's a bit harder to drive it subtly when you're not putting a protein on the plate for the past, say, 6 weeks. I think where he's at tonight is where he needed to be at least 3 to 4 weeks ago.
So this was, look, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. This was the moment when the sadness came into the episode, because this was the moment where something returned that we haven't seen in a very long time. I'm talking Abby narration.
We can only presume that her husband is overseas at the moment, because there was a very clear, like the way Tarati looked at Curtis is the way I'm thinking that Abby was looking at Simon.
It's so funny. And again, it's just the editing. And I feel really bad for both of them because that wasn't a good edit. Because it made, every time they got Abby to talk about Simon's food, it looked single white female.
Yeah, I was waiting for her to get the same haircut, come back with brown curly hair.
And I feel really bad for Abby because I'm quite sure that she did it, went, oh, that was bad. Can we do that one again? That was 2. And they're like, no, we don't have any time. We'll fix it in post. She's going, okay, great. As long as, hey, Simon, see you later. Bye. And meanwhile, it's, Simon, the food is amazing and I love you and your vegan food is amazing and I love lots of flavours.
I will come to you at night time.
It was so... I
will raise you from your sleep.
I felt so bad, again, for both of them because poor Abby, the edit, look, again, her narration's been horrible. We all know it. We're all upfront with it, but... That one there, I feel like they got her in the edit.
She looks lovely, though. I loved her lipstick colour. And you know who else looked fucking awesome tonight? Jess.
MVP of last night's episode.
Fuck yeah.
And they celebrated the fact she was the MVP of last night's episode.
Not showing her at all.
By letting her nowhere near this one.
Yes.
So we got Larissa at this point. And Larissa is separating out the marron from the shells. Remember, this is her main course.
Yes, this is the main... And
Shannon is saying to everybody, by the way, how are we going on the entree prep, guys? And Larissa's like, I'm working on my marron for main, I'll get there. And you can just see Shannon Bennett looking at her going, really?
Interesting choice.
Okay, interesting.
And how long have you set aside for that Marin, Larissa?
It's all good.
An hour.
I'm only taking 8 minutes per Marin.
Okay.
And how many Marin do you have to do? Well, I'm going to do 2 per plate plus a couple of extras, so I'm looking at about 50 Marin.
Okay, 5 times 8 is 40, so that's 400 minutes. She only has 240 minutes all up on a 310. That was my really bad
Your
math.
Colin Barra's math is good. So it was never going to work. And Shannon is looking at it going, 1 minute per Marin. And she's like, I'm taking 8. And you can just see Shannon looking frazzled going, what have I walked into? Because he hasn't been there.
No.
So he's walked into this going, oh, yeah, get your Marin done, a minute per Marin. And she's like, what do you mean a minute per Marin? It's 8. So this was the moment that Tessa then overcooked her entree Marin.
Oh, mushy Marin.
It was all mushy Marin. Larissa then realised at this point that she had none of her entree done at all. She hadn't started anything on the bone marrow. Yep. Then they come back to Tessa, who hadn't trimmed her wagyu yet, and it was at this moment that Shannon went off and talked to the judges. And the judges went, how are they going? And Shannon Bennett just looked at them as if to say, what the fuck have you been doing while I wasn't here?
Anyone give them a little information about time management and how to really set this up?
So Larissa decided that she was going to do 1.5 Marin per plate. So that was a little bit more than Tessa's. Tessa was still arguing about the wagyu because Shannon was saying it's wagyu. You don't medium rare to rare a wagyu. It's got to be medium because you've got to get fat caramelized.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, whatever. That came back to haunt her a little bit. Yeah, we'll keep that ready for later.
Shelve that great big piece of wagyu.
At this point, Larissa is starting because Shannon Bennett turns around to her and goes,
where's your bone marrow?
Where's your bone marrow? It's there. What are you doing with it? Well, you've got to actually shave it down. What do you mean? Now, you've got to shave the bone marrow down to cook it. It can't just sit on the plate like that. You've got to get those edges down. And she's like, oh.
What?
Okay. So she starts. George comes over and they're all over there talking and they go, oh, George laughs and goes, oh, she's still finishing off the bone marrow. And Shannon looks at him and goes, she's just started.
Now, this is after she cracked a joke about pulling out a saw. I've got one of these. It's like, you're making your own bone marrow, okay? Just chopping off a leg.
So
pulling it out.
At this point,
well, that's a spleen.
At this point, I think the 3 judges just realised they might not have prepared these contestants the best way possible for this grand final.
Now, it's an interesting edit because I'm like, okay, how far behind was she actually? Because it really did appear that when Tessa and Simon, not Tim Bone, I've just got bones on the brain now, Bone, is... Like Larissa would still be there shaving these bones.
I suspect it's half an hour.
Yeah.
And my reasoning for that is because George's comment when they got to taste hers was, I mean, even half an hour ago she was still not finished shaving this down. I suspect it was a half an hour gap.
Which, in a service challenge...
is interesting. So I think that the service challenge part, calling it a service challenge was misleading.
Yeah.
Because they didn't take any service into account. And I'm not just picking on Larissa here.
Penalties.
I'm not just picking on Larissa here. Tessa and her steak,
yep,
that was delayed and nothing was mentioned on that either. The service part was not actually a thing. It was just you had to cook the portions. That was all it really was. What they should have just said is you've got to cook 60 portions and it's just a challenge. Because service didn't come into it whatsoever.
No.
There was no penalties there. But Shannon was trying to talk to the judges about that, and it was like, oh, so Tessa's not really up to speed because there was a few mistakes with her Marin, and her steak's not even remotely close to being in yet. Larissa's just starting on that. And then what about Simon? And he goes, I know Simon's going along quite nicely, but I'm just worried about the amount of food on his plate.
Yeah.
That was all he was worried about with Simon. He thought everyone else was great.
It was 3 beets, some puree. Yeah, that's right. The beet leaf puree and atomized.
Oh, we'll come to that in a moment.
So What do you call this? Oda wanker.
When everyone walked in, Larissa still had 20 marrow to finish. When everyone walked in.
Yeah.
And Shannon went over and went off at her about the fact that she goes, why do you keep stopping? Because she kept on stopping on that to go back to work on the Marin. And he's like, that's the main course. That's your second dish. This one's got to go out. Stop stopping and going over there and go back and finish the one you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And Tessa got hers up first. The tester was up and Shannon really liked her Marin. I thought that was really good. Then when Simon was plating his up, they cut to Kyle. And you know Simon's in trouble when Kyle goes, I'm just a bit worried about the amount of food on that plate.
Like, here we are, hardcore pescatarian, friend of vegetables.
And this is
dare I say, champion of vegetables. Like, he and Simon, I wouldn't be surprised, do like a vegan...
Vegetable king.
Veggie king.
The veggie king.
The veggie king.
So...
Sorry, Your Majesty.
At this point, Simon mentions...
To whack myself with a turnip in
reverence to you.
I'll just flagellate myself
with a turnip in reverence.
Thank you, sir, man. Have another.
Thank you, Sir Simon. So, this was the point where he mentioned the atomizer.
Oh, yes.
And Shannon's exact reaction was, what? Followed by one of the best sentences this year, don't get too arty-farty with this dish.
Now, I'm presuming next week it's going to be appearing in a black and white ad with Chris Hemsworth and or Brad Pitt, just looking very pensively at you.
Beetroot.
Yeah.
By Simon. Beetroot.
Beets by Simon.
Beets by Simon. Again. So the service started and Larissa was still cleaning. And a real quote that came from someone in her family was, she's got to get past the bone marrow. It made it sound like a level in a video game.
Everyone's crying.
Where's Larissa? Oh, she's got to get past the bone marrow first before she gets to the secret castle.
Like the 1980s and you're at the pinball arcade and someone's about to beat the high score. Oh, she's got to get past the bone marrow. Can she do it?
Here it comes. Boo, 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 boo. So Tessa's entree was Marin, fennel, bisque and caviar because, of course, as we all well know, Tessa's dishes this year are shopping lists, not things. Now, before we get anywhere near the flavour, we noticed in the background the flavour.
Oh, yeah.
And the flavour was Curtis Stone.
Oh, yeah. Now, just a little head tilt up towards the gantry. We know what's going on there, don't we?
So we all know what happened last night.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of a tarty dreaming of the Curtis. Oh, yeah. The meat man.
So what happened?
Serving her some wagyu.
So what happened today?
Well, there we were. Matt and Gary there chatting away, and just in the background, we see Curtis Stone staring up at the gantry. And we all know who he's looking at. His lover Tarty. Alleged lover Tarty.
I like the way you suddenly covered yourself in an alleged blanket.
Yeah. I feel that it's not, how can I put it? It's not consummated.
It's an unrequited love.
It's unrequited. It's tension. I reckon they just send erotic fiction back together.
No. I reckon...
Old school ERP.
No. I think you're missing a tricky. You know what they're sending back and forward?
Cybersex.
No. You know what they're sending back and forward?
What?
Coles gift cards. So...
Shopping lists.
Shopping
lists that are all in code.
Shopping lists and Coles gift cards.
Eggplant. Eggplant buns.
Flybys. All right. So, flavour, they said, of Tessa's entree was clever. It was very technical. The Marin was perfectly cooked. The bisque was light. Look, I actually think that Tessa's entree was amazing. It looked so good.
And what really showed is, and we know Tessa is really strong with the plating, and it showed tonight.
Yep.
And what's been amazing is she's been beautifully plating for the past fucking months.
Exactly. So Simon presented his roasted heirloom beets, which suddenly had a much more fancy name than originally Beets 3 Ways.
Well, he had to go arty-farty because he was serving it with an atomizer now, though. They can't just be Beets to each other.
It still should have been Beets. It still should have been Beets by Simon. You're 100% right.
Heirloom Beets, just like some art. It looked art, sweetie darling.
So it looked for me, unfortunately. I thought that the puree from the leaves looked a lot like baby shit.
Yeah, I've seen...
Or a map of the world without the water. They were the two images I got in once. A baby shit map of the world.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was like a beet floater. There's your other option for
a beet floater. Well done. Beets by Simon, a beet floater. So Matt thought it was a great Simon first dish. Gary thought it was nice, but lacking something. Probably a bit of pork. George thought that it was amazing, but thought that it was an amazing side dish. They all thought, funnily enough, there wasn't enough on the plate. It's almost like Kyle was seeing into the future or was given a script, one or the other. Now, Larissa still wasn't listening to Shannon about flavour. She tasted it, went, oh, that's not really good. I need more acidity. And Shannon's like, well, yes.
Yep.
So then she changed her dish off the back of Shannon's instructions, gave it out.
And up comes a bit of controversy.
Well, they loved it. And they thought it was amazing.
But it was served with pre-baked bread.
It was served with people. Look,
now, do you think it's some of Laurent's bread? So it's like
I reckon it's okay because
got to be Laurent's bread.
I think Laurent made it.
Curtis just comes in. Yeah. Didn't see he came in beforehand with bags of bread.
Bread. Good luck. Good luck.
And Tata goes, Curtis, I love your buns.
Good luck bread is what it was. Now, before we get to the scores, it was a very important. So they went around the tables and got people to sort of talk about what they liked and what they didn't like.
Yes.
And they cut to a few people, and the last person they cut to, haven't got to do this in a bit. Mm-hmm. Sashi!
Yeah, Sashi!
And Sashi goes, oh, that was really nice bone marrow. It was amazing. It went really well with my Shiraz, at which point they held the bottle of Jacob's Creek and tipped it and put it down on the table, clearly in the middle of camera shot, as product placement. It was the least subtle thing I've ever seen.
Look, I think that
Sashi was swirling the wine before they put it down too, like he was doing a full tasting.
As we now enter the era of Boris Johnson as England's or Britain's PM, I can only imagine that this is the new level of subtlety that we will see in life. So
it's horrible. All right, so round one, Tessa got a 9 from George. An 8 from George, a 9 from Gary, and a 10 from Matt.
Yep.
27 out of 30. Simon got an 8, 7, and 7, so 22. Larissa got 9, 9, and 9, so 27.
Yep.
So Larissa and Tessa, after round one, are tied.
Yep.
That takes us to round 2, where Simon is back at the vegetable coalface.
Yeah, and then now we missed a trick here because Larissa, the line is "Game on, moles."
Yes, it was.
Come on.
She's like, I can't believe I'm this close to competing with Tessa. I mean, Tessa's just great. And if looks could kill,
yep,
Tessa would have murdered someone.
Oh yeah.
There were a few times tonight that I think Tessa would have murdered somebody. The one thing,
but Larissa had the sauce.
One thing that came through, and it really came through in this challenge as well, is if it wasn't for Shannon Bennett in that kitchen, they would have been fucked.
Oh, absolutely.
There was no way they would have plated anything. Like, in all honesty, they would not have got anything on the plate. So Tessa kept ignoring Shannon because Shannon kept on saying to her, like, the wagyu's been done like that. Get it in the warmer now. Get it up to temperature so the fat has time to do its thing. And she's like, no, it'll be good. I'll put it in there just beforehand. I don't want to do it over. And he's like, it's wagyu. Get it up to temperature. Get it in the warmer. And she's like, no, it's okay. I'm going to do it just before.
When she cut open that wagyu, I really wanted to offer it like a couple of tampons. It was just that time of the month. And I'm thinking second day of the cycle. Just
for any new listeners, you're welcome. For any new listeners, you're welcome.
Your uterus is just going, fuck this, it's all coming out now. I can't stand the world. Just take my lining.
Anyway, so for new listeners, this is common. This should be a minute.
I just need my hot water bottle. That poor fucking steak. I really felt for it.
Anyway. Again, if you've never heard this podcast before, sorry.
Felching.
So Larissa decided to break away from all of this horror
the tone
by doing something that she hasn't done, that we haven't seen all season. She had the marin in a tray, and what did she do? Butter sauce.
Well, she put a twist on it.
Vanilla.
And, you don't often see vanilla in a butter sauce.
Again, only when you melt vanilla ice cream. Anyway.
There's no butter in ice cream. It's all egg, isn't it?
Egg?
You think I would have... Yeah, you make eggs. You make a custard and anglaise out of eggs.
But I like the idea it's all egg.
Yep, it's just a fucking omelette. Frozen omelette.
It's a frozen omelette.
Well, essentially, ice cream would be a fucking frozen omelette. What's it got in it?
Oh my God, is a hot dog a sandwich, is ice cream a frozen omelette. Anyway, moving on. Kyle was convinced...
Just one day...
Frozen omelette?
One day back in the 18th century, right, all the firewood was wet. And they're like, oh no, but my omelette's sitting here ready to go. What have you flavoured it with? Well, there's only some vanilla bean in the thing, so that's all I've had to use in my poor mansion.
In my poor mansion?
Okay, grand house, stately house, right? I'm presuming this is stately beer manor. Back in the old country. The original stately beer manor. So, you know, great-great-great-grandmother beer has gone to make an omelette.
There'd be fig in there, surely.
There'd be fig and verjuice. Unfortunately, there's no fire to be had. She cannot cook it, and it's like freezing outside and the temperature's dropping anyway. She runs to her bedroom to keep warm, and when she comes back, there is this new miracle dish in front of her.
So great-great-grandmother beer invented ice cream by freezing an omelette she couldn't cook.
Yes.
After putting fig, vanilla, and verjuice in it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Makes sense.
It's legit.
Anyway, makes sense.
History, people.
So Kyle was convinced, however, that Simon's ability with a carrot would win the day. And Kyle, I mean, we know obviously that the man is actually a pescatarian / vegetarian, and God, he can wax lyrical about vegetables. And Kyle could
mushrooms.
Kyle could have talked about, or scallops maybe.
And shrooms.
But Kyle could have waxed lyrical about those carrots for hours.
I'm sure he did.
What the man can do with a carrot. It's just like the way he's chopping the ends off them. And as they're doing that, he's preparing the ends with scissors and he's cutting them down. Now, at this point, first of all, this is where Shannon walked over and went, and it was great because they didn't edit any of the language out. So Shannon walks over there and looks at Tessa cutting open the steak and goes, "They all like that?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, shit."
Oh, yes.
Cut back to Simon, who plates his dish, and I'm like, I literally opened my mouth to say, that is amazing. Simon's dish looks so good. I would love to try that lobster with the champagne. Wow, that's amazing. And as I opened my mouth, Simon's girlfriend goes, #season Simon, and I instantly wanted it to fail.
You know when politically minded young people who are at university decide that they want a career in politics, they start looking around for the correct mate to really lead. Yeah, you can see that happening tonight.
Here's the thing.
They're really lovely people. They're really lovely people.
No, here's the problem, all right?
And Robert has said it's how you edited.
Here's the problem,
Yeah.
okay? How were we introduced to this couple? What was the first story we heard of this couple?
That he was stalking... Oh, no, they were having asparagus and fucking mussels. Or that he was stalking her.
Asparagus and mussels in a room with no furniture. Since that moment, I can't stop picturing them as like... I know he's not from Sydney, but I can't stop picturing him as like down-and-out Sydney University students in one of those mid-90s rom-coms.
Who just have to have, like, you've just got to look on the positive side of life, you know? Like, they're walking home and, you know, they actually had asparagus, mussels, and a loaf of bread, but they walked past a homeless person. You know what they said? Do we really need the bread? Let's give the homeless man some bread.
And, baby, we don't need bread. You know why?
We got each other.
And hope.
We do.
And then they looked into the middle distance. And then their friend, the junkie with a heart of gold, came past, and it was great. So, anyway... Simon serves his dish. They said that the lobster was cooked really well. They said the sauce was incredibly good. But they said the vegetables were the problem. They said that his carrots were crunchy and that crunchy carrots with the rest of it being all soft and the sauce just took them out of the dish.
Yeah.
And Gary's words, I feel like we're leaving Simon behind here. And they were.
Yeah.
Larissa. Now, Larissa was talking up the fact that her marron needed to be better than Tessa's. Matt said that the colour was amazing. Gary said there was a lot of work there. They noticed there was only 1.5 pieces of marron. But then they decided that was okay because there's so much going on.
I know. You know, who knew some deep-fried kale splashed on the top of anything can disguise
Bright colours.
Basically, deep fried leaf of kale equals half a marin. We are now understanding the value.
Well, look, if we're working at the food ratios, 100% that's right.
If we went to that Cajun seafood restaurant in Miscellaneous City that we went to last Saturday night, and your bag arrived with, say, three of the bugs. Morton Bay bugs, with 2 deep fried kale leaves, how would you be feeling?
Back.
It's coming back, yeah.
It's going back.
Yeah.
So Tessa then...
But it did look amazing.
Tessa then served her somewhat rescued wagyu beef with celeriac puree.
Yep.
Gary said the beef was cooked beautifully, and he also said that the celeriac puree was cooked better than he could cook.
Yep.
And she did manage to save the beef.
Save the beef.
Which, didn't require much saving, in all honesty. Like, it was raw, so all she had to do was, like, quickly cook it again. But again, how long did that take? We don't know. So round 2, Simon got 7, 7 and 7, so 43 out of 60. Tessa got 9, 9 and 9 for 54 out of 60. Larissa got 9, 9, and George gave it 10. So that was 55 out of 60.
He was very pleased with his...
And at that point, I wrote down, Tessa is pissed, Larissa is delirious, Simon may have left the kitchen.
Simon's just gone, okay.
But no, he didn't, because what happened was, uptight Simon, the guy we've seen every fucking episode of this show, left the kitchen. Robot Simon left the kitchen. The guy that does the big crazy bug eyes left the kitchen. Calm, cool, confident, funny, laid back Simon,
happy,
walked in the door and looked at Shannon Bennett, where Shannon Bennett said to him about the sponge that he made, why don't you just break it up in like a rustic style? And Simon looks at him and goes, shut up, that's amazing.
Yes. And it's like, where have you been?
And suddenly...
Who is this, Simon?
Suddenly Simon is trying shit.
Suddenly Simon.
He's having fun.
Simon.
I mean, he's having fun. He was having the best time of his life. He's like, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do now. Rip the stuff to pieces.
And like, I think I know where his girlfriend's kind of intensity was coming from.
I think it was very heavily wired, I think.
Been 12 weeks.
I think so too.
I think there's a bit of thirst going on there.
I wonder if he went out in the break and that's when he came back in, he's like... I'm great. Let's do this. Now. Yep. Hey, fuck this. Let's cook some shit. Don't cook some shit. Who cares? The world is wonderful. Look at the flowers. Look at the garden. It's in
Look at my girlfriend.
The garden's in play.
Hello, handsome.
Hello, nurse. So Simon was about to serve his pumpkin seed cake, but before he did, Larissa's meringues collapsed. They tried to make this into a drama. As you'll see in a minute, didn't matter.
What drama?
Didn't matter. She just turned them upside down and made it a sandwich. So they said that it was very modern, his pumpkin seed cake.
Yeah.
Gary said that Simon's found that level. George's like, we need variety. This is really good boundary pushing. And Matt said that it was really clever. Why don't the scores reflect that, guys? Because you gave him shithouse scores.
7, 8.
Yeah, it was 7, 7 and 8.
And I think even Gary had critiqued Simon's... Oh, no, I'm thinking about the...
No, but they gave 7, 7 and 8 for this because remember they pointed at each other about that.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for poor Simon because I actually thought that his dessert was really bloody good.
Yeah.
I would have loved it. I found myself coming out of this episode being very sympathetic to Simon, and I never thought that was what I was going to be in this episode.
You know what it is? The whole motherfucking show is backwards.
Told you, the story's been told backwards. It's like Doctor Who.
Yes.
And River's Song. They're going in the wrong order. Simon and Masterchef are going in the wrong order with each other.
And we're like, oh no, we know your future. We get trapped in a library.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, they went around and showed everybody else eating Simon's dish and being really happy with it. And then they paused for a very long time on an espresso glass.
2. There were 2. They showed a long black and a latte.
Because you can have many types of Nespresso. Who else? Anyway, Tessa then was about to come up and plate her dish, at which point Tessa's mum gave us just some of the most well-organised and well-thought-out criticism / positive reinforcement we've ever heard. She yells down from the gantry, says like, "Push, you can do this. Those flavours look delicious. You can work that." And Tessa's mum goes, "You're a joy to watch with your organisation."
She's a fucking academic. I am so sure she's an educator, or because it's very tangible.
It's like
feedback that she's giving her.
It's like what you would expect Marie Kondo to yell at any future offspring. Your organisation and structure is pleasing me greatly.
Mother,
it was so.
I have never received a higher compliment. Here, let me offer you my perfectly organised.
This box is full of clothing, well folded.
Yes.
Your pans are in the right position on the stovetop.
Yes.
Bravo, daughter. So Tessa served her lemon meringue, not lemon meringue pie, just lemon meringue. They said that the ginger, the rosemary, and the lemon were all really delicious. Mm-hmm. And then Matt Preston just called it safe, and they all went,
Yep.
Now, the scores don't reflect the fact they really liked it.
Yeah.
Because, again, she got like 7s. And I didn't understand that, but we'll come back to it because we've got a drama.
Drama llama.
We are in...
Drama llama ding dong.
We are in the grand final of MasterChef Australia. So what possible tragedy could have befallen a competitor?
One of the ninjas fell from the ceiling and crashed upon them.
No, that's on Ninja Warrior on Channel 9.
Yes.
But what the problem was, you could not resolve this. The sorbet was frozen solid.
Oh, shit. Got to throw that shit out.
Now, however can you fix it?
Look, the other night I pulled some ice cream out of the freezer and it was just frozen solid. I had no fucking idea what to do.
You put it back in?
I had to think about it for 5 minutes, just kept it there on the bench, just thought about it for 5 minutes.
Did you look at everybody in cold cuts around the house? Because that's what they did in the episode. They cut to every single table, all looking pensive. By the way, nobody at those tables
would have known what was going on.
Knew what the fuck they were talking about. They were taken from during the night at random. So they got shots of everyone at random just sitting there looking like pensive, like waiting for food, probably going, "Where's the bone marrow?"
But here's the story being told.
Instead, the story being told with that photo, with that shot was everyone was worried about how she was going to get frozen sorbet out.
Although I like to think that just... throughout the whole thing, you know, everyone on the gantry and everyone in the restaurant were like just like psychically telling her, "Hate the motherfucker."
Well, somebody yelled out, "Push it," which, like, again, is not useful advice.
Well, she was there. She was giving it a massage. She was. Thumbs.
Now, some of the options she could have gone with.
I'll salt and pepper this. Push it.
Some of the options she could have gone with on this. She could have warmed a fucking spoon. She could have used some warm water in a bowl, which she eventually got to. And by the way, when they then went to the montage of ways she tried, it was her rubbing the container. It was her, like, using a spoon around it. Then she put it in water. I was waiting for her to, like, build a bookcase and put it on the bookcase and push it off. It was a montage like she'd spent 45 minutes trying to defrost sorbet. In my experience, when I take sorbet out of the freezer, if it's out for anything longer than about a minute, that shit's melting.
I know, like that's what I'm saying.
Sorbet.
I came back to my ice cream 5 minutes later. Guess what?
What?
Melty.
Puddle?
Yeah.
So she could have used a blowtorch. She could have breathed on it heavily. If she just gone
down the cleavage,
that was an option.
The greatest warmers ever.
I agree 100%. Somehow she worked out how to defrost that thing, and off we went.
Here we are.
So the Szechuan pavlova her dessert was her Szechuan pavlova.
Serve sorbet.
So Matt said that it was amazing. George commented, funnily enough, that it was very restrained on the Szechuan. Of course, George would notice that it was restrained on that. Gary clearly just adored it and fawned all over it and thought it was the greatest thing he'd ever seen.
Look, it looked beautiful, and I think out of those 3 desserts, this is where she really shone, because you can see the culmination and all the things she's been experimenting with over the past, couple of months. Yeah, she's been tactical in some points and she's been very confident. And I think people get a little bit more judgy when it's a young woman, particularly a 22-year-old woman who, I don't know if we knew that.
We're going to hear that a lot.
Is assertive and confident and willing to take risks, because one of the things we don't encourage in society, and particularly in women, is failure.
Yep. I think that a lot of people will I don't want to use put off, I don't think it's the right word, But I think a lot of people saw the way that they got Larissa's bits to camera done as being overconfident and cocky.
Yeah.
Now, do I think that presents the same way in in a male contestant? No, I don't. I think it just presents as confident. And I think she is confident, and I think she has every right to be confident.
Look at the fucking skills she has.
I think that, but I also feel like they didn't. I feel like production let her down badly. I've said this for a few weeks. I feel like production's let Larissa down a little bit in terms of the way they've got some of the voiceovers done. They would probably get some of the male contestants to rein it in a little bit and use restraint, because you don't want to appear too big for your boots, but let her go. And I actually think that they've hurt her a bit. And it's not that she shouldn't be. On the contrary, she should be out there and loud about it.
Yep.
Because she's good and she's doing what she should be doing.
Yeah.
And she knows she's good. But I think they reined a lot of other people in, or a lot of other people have more media background and media savvy.
Yeah, but, you know,
but she shouldn't have to.
They're in a Masterchef bubble. Yeah. They're going on, and, you know, she's probably used to just speaking her mind.
And the last couple of weeks, she's been on fire. Yeah. So that would be why. Again, it's the opposite of Nicole, who was like, I've got no confidence at all, and I don't even know what I'm doing in the kitchen. Larissa's been the opposite of that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So the judging came back. Simon got 7, 7, and 8, which I thought was a travesty. 65 out of 90. Like, he wasn't brilliant, but he also shouldn't have been that low. I had a bit more of a problem with Tessa getting 7, 8, and 8. I understand that Larissa's was brilliant, but I thought that Tessa's score was low.
Yeah.
I thought it probably should have been 8s and maybe even some 9s in there. I think they wanted to make it a bit of a gap, though, and Larissa got 10, 10, and 10, got 85 out of 90. Yeah. Now, do I think Larissa won? Probably. Do I think that it was a 77 to 85 gap? No. I don't think it was. No. But, again, didn't taste it, can't tell flavours. And Larissa deserved 100% to win the final.
Absolutely.
There's not an argument in the world about that. They did get the right winner in the end. In terms of the episode, I think that the other thing that's very important, and this is not a shot at Larissa at all, I think Larissa needed to win.
Well,
whereas I feel that Tessa's going to be just fine and Simon's going to be just fine.
I think their maturity is playing in their favour. Their maturity and their... Like, I think those two have made positive impressions on enough important people.
Yes.
In order to further their careers.
Yeah.
I was a bit concerned with the discrepancy, though, of, like, the 20,000 and 30,000 given out.
To the 250,000?
To the 250,000. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But, like, Tessa came second. So they gave her 30 grand and they gave Simon 20. Like, that, I don't know. Maybe I'm just feeling like the second place should have got a little bit more. 50, yeah, that would have felt better. But anyway.
Or it should have been like Bake Off and they get nothing and just do it to be awesome.
And a bunch of flowers.
And a can of cake stand.
And a cake stand. A hug from Maggie Beer and Matt Moran. What more could you want?
Nothing else, really. So, and then the confetti fell.
The confetti fell and
then we realised
hoisted above the shoulders.
And then we realised we never have to watch George Columbaras eat another dish again.
Oh, that was my joy when I realised. That was my countdown tonight, is how many more fucking dishes do I have to watch?
Yeah, she did. She sat here and counted it.
Got to one. It was just fucking delightful.
So let's talk about where they're going.
All right.
So.
No. I'm sorry. I'm just going to pause here because there's a very special mention we need to make. And that is one of the Virgie winners was present at Masterchef tonight. That would have been Ben's shirt.
Oh.
It was in jacket form.
Yes, how can I forget?
I just want to give a shout out.
The illustrious winner of the most prestigious award this podcast gives out, a Virgie. Named, of course, after Maggie Beer and the Virtues Fields.
Surrounding Stately Beer Manor.
Yes, and of course everybody who's anybody has won a Virgie except for the person who created them. That would be me. And for some reason, the committee keeps on overlooking me and I can't work this out for the life of me.
You really need to explore that.
I really do.
Probably with professional help.
I'm the head of the committee and if somehow I still don't have a Virgie, I can't work it out for the life of me. I vote every year for myself and nothing. Anyway, so after this, so where are we going now? So the first question that was asked, and we asked this the other day on the podcast the podcast the other day that I did with Steve Malk, was if you get rid of the judges, is the show done? Now, my answer is, God, no. I don't think they're even remotely close.
I feel it's going to have to be done well, though. You can't just throw 3 randoms in and expect. You need people with strong chemistry.
You need people with names, reputation, and ability.
So let's use Great British Bake Off, for example. So Paul Hollywood, in his wisdom and wanting to line his pockets, I presume, sold Great British Bake Off to Channel 4 from the BBC. Mary Berry decided not to go across it, which is understandable, I think.
Well, Love Productions sold it. Paul Hollywood went.
Okay, sorry. Love Productions sold it. Paul Hollywood went. Mary Berry went, said, fuck yous, I'm staying with the BBC, and so did Mel and Sue. Now, that's 3 really strong personalities who've been working for fucking years together to replace. Now, Prue Leith stepped up. Luckily, she's got a very good rapport with Mary Berry, and she's got the that to stick with. The 2 that are crucial, and we've been noticing this more and more as we watch different versions of Bake Off, the hosts. So Mel and Sue had this beautiful repartee, perfect level of engagement with the contestants and humour. And it's like, okay, who's going to fill these shoes? In come Sandy Toksvig and Noel Fielding. Bit of a wild card, but, they stepped up to the challenge, and I think they've done a beautiful job. Made it their own, but still keeping that sense of genuine joy and engagement. So this is the challenge for MasterChef going into next year, is how are they going to reinvigorate and keep the gravitas, but set a new culture.
There's a couple of benefits out of this. The first thing is, regardless of who they get in as the new hosts / judges, we are going to see a different program next year. And the main reason we're going to see that is we are not going to have contestants cooking to the judges' tastes, because they don't fucking know what the judges want.
That is perfectly true. We don't have someone with a Twitter handle about pork crackling.
Yeah, and we're not going to see pork crackling for the first 6 weeks. And if you were planning to audition for MasterChef next year because you do a mean pork crackle, maybe rethink your strategy a little bit. Now,
start experimenting with other proteins.
Now, what I think, or in Simon's case, cabbage. So, what I think is really crucial here is, I personally think that 10 need to go big.
Go big or go home.
They need to go as big as humanly possible. Now,
you cannot simply shift up Matt, Sinclair, Poe, and Billy.
You can't shift Matt, Poe, and Billy up into that role. No. It won't work. You can't even, and I know there's lots of people out there going, I'll get this former contestant or get this one. You know what? You can't do that. It's not going to work. It's going to appear too much like, the school pantomime.
Yep.
Where, you've seen actors do it, and then you get the kids to step up and play those roles. It's just not going to work. What
we need is people from the industry.
So what I would go with in terms of my 3.
First off, no fucking Maggie Beer. Hands off. Back the fuck down. She is Bake Offs, and don't you dare.
Don't even touch her.
Don't even think it. Stop. Now, I can hear you. Stop that right now.
My 3. These are the 3 that I would like to see in the show.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to start with Curtis Stone. Now, the reason I'm going to start with Curtis Stone, before I hear people going, no, not fucking Curtis Stone. Coles are the largest sponsor of MasterChef.
Yep.
Coles are pumping money into this.
Yep.
Their brand ambassador is getting all over this, and Curtis was not put in that challenge the other night randomly. I think they wanted to see how Curtis would mesh in that environment, in a more sustained role where he was more focused on. And I think he did a really good job of that.
Now, while I want more diversity, and Curtis Stone is the opposite to that, I think the bonus here is that we may get more Stone and Tarty.
And also we might get less Coles ads.
The erotic adventures of Stone and Tarty.
Which would be amazing. Maybe we get less Coles ads too, because he's on the show, so we don't need to see
more banana leaf-based erotic fiction.
Look, that's what you're dreaming of, and we all know this, and we're looking forward to it.
I'm not the only one.
Tarty, really keen on it.
Yeah.
Number 2. Well, I'm going to go with, for me, number 2 is the big and obvious name that's out there.
Restaurant recently closed?
No. That's my 3rd name.
Okay, sorry.
So don't keep that powder dry.
Okay, powder dry.
My second name is the big name that's out there. you want somebody connected to the Masterchef franchise.
Yep.
You want someone with a food reputation. Mm-hmm. You want someone that the audiences really like watching, and when they've been on Masterchef Australia, took over the show.
Yep.
Gordon fucking Ramsay.
Yes.
Now,
okay.
Now remember.
Where's the diversity?
You're going to get there. I'm about to diversify your world.
We have had 11 years of white sausage.
Yep. And so to counterbalance this, and before we get to the counterbalance, just quickly, remember there's a MasterChef restaurant in Dubai. Remember this is a global brand. And remember Australia is kind of seen as the forefront of the global brand. Mm-hmm. Because the other versions of MasterChef are not close to the British MasterChef, they're closer to the Australian MasterChef.
Yep.
They follow the Australian MasterChef for guidance. So we're kind of heading up the brand. Ramsay's already over in the US running it. It would make sense to bring him in, and he's done quite well in Australia. But what you need, I think, are two Australians. You need one either side of him. Mm-hmm. You want diversity?
Yeah.
You want difference?
I do.
I present you Kylie Kwong.
I like it. I'm down for the Kwong.
Television experience.
Yeah.
She is funny. She is a brilliant chef. Yeah. She recently closed her restaurant, so she's got some time on her hands. She is diverse in terms of she represents the LGBT community.
Yep.
She is Asian background, obviously, so no more fucking people going Asian flavours because Kylie Kwong will look at you and go, what the fuck?
Well, she's Chinese, isn't she? Her background's Chinese.
Yes, but she will look at you when they start going Asian flavours and go, no, bitch, where's it from?
Yeah.
Where's it from?
Well, I still think we need to bring in European flavours whenever we're talking about, like French and Italian cuisine.
I do too, Bernaise. Or you mean a European flavour?
A European sauce, European-inspired sauce.
Now, I know there are lots of people out there going, but you've still got two white...
Southeast European sauce.
There are lots of people there going, you've still got like two white males in there. And yes, we do. Mm-hmm. My thing with that is that I think Ramsay gets a bit of a special dispensation because he's Gordon fucking Ramsay. And I think there's a little bit of a dispensation there. And I think the Curtis Stone thing is purely he's been around the show enough. He knows the show without being entrenched in the show. And again, the major sponsor he is the brand ambassador for.
Yeah.
And to be blunt, this is a commercial exercise. And if you're going to get these people in, you're going to need some money in the show.
Absolutely.
Coles are going to have to pump some money in.
Yeah.
So I think if you get Curtis Stone in, you get a better chance of getting 3 amazingly big name hosts.
Mm-hmm. I don't have names. I completely agree with Kylie Kwong. I will put her as my number one pick. The other two, all I can tell you is what I don't want to see. I don't want to see same old. I'm happy. I want someone who's got the experience in the industry. I want to see someone that's not necessarily male. I don't think we need 2 male judges. We just need the right mix. And we've got to have people who've got the right chemistry together and the gravitas and the nous to pull this off. So
Kirsten Tibbles.
She's very sweet and very lovely. I don't know if she's got the strength to pull it through. Ella Wolf-Tasker, though, on the other hand.
Ella Wolf-Tasker would be amazing. What I wouldn't mind seeing, and I think you've mentioned this, and I've spoken to a couple of other people who mentioned this too.
Yeah.
Have someone on there who is a dessert person.
Yeah.
Have a dessert person.
Yeah.
So if you've got a dessert person on there...
That's what I was saying this, have someone that's got a
I remember your ideas better than you do.
Oh, that's right. I did say Kirsten Tibbles.
And Apollo.
Oh, yes. She would be brilliant.
So if you can get somebody who is a dessert person...
Yeah.
Then you get a Curtis, for example.
That's more of a general...
Well, you get a Tibbles, you get a Kylie Kwong, and then you get Tibbles, you get a Kylie Kwong, or a Wolf-Tasker, or a Apollo. Then you get the Kylie Kwong, and then you have a Gordon Ramsay over the top of it as just the all-encompassing... And I know you're looking at me going, I don't want Gordon over the top of it as the male dominating. It's not about the male dominating. Yeah. It's the personality of Gordon fucking Ramsay and the gravitas. You want gravitas, he carries gravitas.
Yeah, but I still, I really feel that the important thing is going to be getting that energy and that camaraderie right.
But I also think he'll work well with people. And that's the other thing we saw when he came out here.
Yep.
He did actually work really well with people.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think he was brilliant with the contestants when he came to Australia. I think...
And it's the level of, and what we're also talking about here is elevating contestants and elevating the level of ability and training and upskilling, because we didn't see that this year. And I don't think you'll get better than a Ramsay
I disagree. Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying, but I don't have names to throw out there. I honestly don't. I think this needs more thought and more consideration, and that there is more diversity, and that there are more voices to be heard than just strong white men. Gordon Ramsay has so many opportunities. Like he's already doing MasterChef America. He's already out there and doing it. And I really feel, yes, MasterChef Australia is probably, in the forefront of this, but we don't necessarily need to have Gordon Ramsay fill that spot. I feel that there are probably some people that we couldn't think of that can step up and do this. And I feel that needs more consideration. I hear what you're saying, but I think there are elements out of that we can pull out and probably find in other people.
That's an interesting discussion for another day.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, with that in mind, that ends our delightful series of MasterChef Australia. We end, finally. I know, breathe out. Now, we're not going to be away for too much longer because we're probably going to have some people on in the next few weeks or so. So we will have some MasterChef revisiting. So please keep listening out for that, because we'll have hopefully some really good content very soon.
Production don't go, oh no, we don't want to hear from you again.
Probably not again. I think they've got bigger problems than worrying about us.
Yes.
Also, Canadian Bake Off starts up again very shortly.
What's this all about? It's baking!
We will be back again for that shortly, and hopefully talking to some of the Canadian bakers for Bake Off.
You can learn some
also maybe at some point
Newfoundland speak.
Also maybe at some point in the next 12 months there might be some Australian Bake Off, who the hell knows. Before we finish up, thank you to everyone who's tweeted. Thank you to everyone who's listened. Thank you to everyone who's engaged with us. Thank you to the talent to my right.
Thank you to the brains to my left.
Where's the cat?
I'm talking to you, Buchanan.
Thank you to everyone who's come onto the podcast this year. It has been a genuine delight, especially the contestants. Thank you to you as well for putting yourself out there and doing this.
Your ongoing love and support, it means a lot. Because I do live with a mental health issue, which I've said before, I think that part of one of my feel good things is this podcast and the people that we get to associate with.
Exactly, and it's something I look forward to doing all the time, and
even when it's week 332 in the MasterChef run of things, and we're just will it ever end?
As I'm sure,
grand final week 7. As
I'm sure Kristie will confirm to you all, I don't stop ever planning this damn thing. So, it never ends.
Whereas I'm just shut the fucking thing off and let's go to bed.
So the planning never ends. The organising never ends. I will frequently say to Kristie, we've got something, and she's like, whatever, just let me know. And the other day I was actually test driving a car and ended the test drive early so I could come back and do the Elena interview, because that was the only time we had free. So it really is something where I'm planning all the time, and it's good fun, and I really enjoy doing it. I love being able to do this podcast with you, so thank you very much.
Woo!
So until we return in some way, shape or form to your ears listening on the podcast, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We will catch you all later.
The end.